Oh, good afternoon. I'm calling the regular meeting of the Resources and Infrastructure Committee to order. It is 2 o'clock on July 14th. We have 4 of the committee members present at this point. We have Mr. Grumald, we have Mr. Webb, we have Mr. Sieber, and we have Mr. Howell. I have not heard from Mr. Meeks. I'm not sure if he's attending or not, but I guess we'll see. Staff present is our General Manager, Matthew McElhaney, our Confidential Administrative Assistant, Haley Dodson, our Utilities Manager, Jim Green, our Program Manager, Tristan Reaper, our Water Department Superintendent, Cody Meeks, our Wastewater Department Superintendent, Cody Arthur. We have 1 member of the public here in person. We have 4 members of the public online and 1 director. Okay, I don't have a chair report. Do we have committee member communications? I believe Mr. Webb had something he wanted to say.
I do.
Okay.
Let's see. I was back in 2018. Got to take these out because I'm hearing myself. I got asked to be an expert on a panel by Ocean Protection Council. They wanted me to participate in preparing the state's Marine Protected Area Network for introduction to the IUCN Green List, which is a list of conserved areas all over the world. And it was a big project because California has the most extensive network of marine protected areas. It's got 124 of them. And I think the IUCN only has now it has 200 MPAs listed. So, and we're 124 of them. So represent a big part of their inventory. We applied the international standards for preservation that were developed by IUCN to the state's efforts to set up MPAs, and various meetings and modifications were made to facilitate this process. COVID interrupted it for a couple of years, but we carried on and we finally got it done this year. And the IUCN voted on it and said, yes, you've protected those areas as good as you can, and they entered into the green list. So they came out and announced that the California MPA network would now be part of the IUCN green list. What that does gives a lot more attention to the efforts in California from an international standpoint. People will look at this entire network and think in terms of that. Most countries look in terms of just like one big marine protected area and are glad to be done with it when they're accomplished. But the realities of how ecosystems work would tend to indicate that you need multiple areas, because not only because things move around, but because you can have a disaster in one area, like at Refugio in Santa Barbara, we had an oil spill. And you don't want that to wipe out everything in your efforts to preserve something. So multiple sites are preferable for a lot of reasons. And California was very good at it. They had a scientific task force that developed a criteria for developing the marine protected areas, and they were developed in a public and facilitated process back in 2000. Why? I think it was 2007. They were finally approved here off of our coast, and they've been monitored ever since. Every year, I sign up. I'm a volunteer fisherman, basically. I go into reserved areas and catch fish. They measure them and tag them, put them back, and then we go into non-reserved areas that have similar habitat to the reserves, and we fish and we compare how many fish we catch per hour and how big the fish are and what kinds of fish they are. And I've done that for 18 years. This will be our 19th year coming up. And so there's active monitoring going on. The entire network gets monitored on a decadal basis. Every 10 years, they go through and ask themselves, why are we doing this? And is it effective? And is it working well? Or what should we change? What have we gotten wrong? What have we got right? And we just are at the tail end of that process. We've already identified all of that, and a lot of meetings have been held to discuss it. Anyway, I thought it was a significant event that we've gained some recognitions internationally, and so better take good care of it. That's all I can say.
So you tag the fish and you throw them back in. Do you ever catch a fish again later on that you've tagged before?
Yeah, the whole purpose of tagging them is in the hope that one day we'll catch them again. And then we can see how fast they grew and how far they moved. And I can tell you that it's a lot of effort to tag a rockfish. I mean, it's a lot of effort to control them and tag them and then read the little number on the tag and record it. And you get all that done and you throw them in and you hope, wow, one day we'll see that fish again. And it turns out we only see about 1% of them again.
And where do you put the tag?
We put the tag by the dorsal fin. And of that 1%, I would say the overarching observation is they don't move far and they don't grow much. So they're very site specific. They hang out there and they grow very slowly. So a difficult challenge for conservation.
Interesting.
Does
And
it,
if people find a rockfish with a tag, they can call the number that's on the tag or look it up. The state resources have a lot of contact information. Call it in and you'll get sent $20. So.
okay,
Oh, finder seat, very good.
committee member Meeks is joining us, so we have a full committee present.
Oh, Mr. Meeks, you got one of these.
Sorry, you're good.
Does anybody else have anything they wish to say? Any questions for Mr. Webb? Okay, so we're on, since nobody has any questions and I don't see any hands up for any public comment on what Mr. Webb just said, we'll go ahead and move to the Utilities Department Manager.
Great, thank you, Chair. We'll go over some of our hot projects here, some of the latest updates here. So our electric vehicle charger for our on-call operator trucks has been installed, permitted, it is up and running, and it is operating as advertised. We're getting 44 miles per hour of charge on it. So that's fantastic. That's been installed for about a week now. But we've been utilizing it. I just got an email today from APCD with basically the contractor agreement that we'll have to sign with it, but that's that $20,000 that we'll get for the installation, towards the installation of those, that charger, and some covering the vehicle cost here, but so we'll be seeing that come back to our bottom line here this fiscal year, and that's fantastic. Rodeo Grand's generator, we haven't talked about this much lately, and that's because we're awaiting the generator. Our electrical contractor is ready. We have all the parts and appurtenances that we need for that installation, but we're just waiting on the device here to get shipped. It was due June 17th. They're looking at about July 17th, so hopefully in a couple weeks or so, I'll have some good news to bring to you with that installation. Our San Simeon transmission line, the water and wastewater effluent and influent lines. So Caltrans has finally approved our encroachment permit for utility locating in their right of way. We submitted that in June. We received the okay a week ago. We're gonna have a pre-boring or pre-construction meeting site with the Caltrans encroachment engineer, our consultants, our environmental consultants, and then of course, staff. And that'll be going on probably the first week or weeks of September. That will be the utility drilling where we're going down underground. We have to get a well driller's permit with the County of San Luis Environmental Health. We'll be going down anywhere from 10 to 20 and perhaps even 80 feet down to look for infrastructure underground. This will help line us to that final alignment or determination, which we will then turn into Caltrans for their approval for installation. And then, I mean, obviously, we're gonna have a CDP. We'll need a coastal development permit for that. So, once we get that information, we can kind of attack those two permits, in parallel. And we're still looking to break ground, late spring, early summer next year while all this is going on. Lift station B4, we've had the geotechnical engineering and engineering geology report has been completed. The report has been submitted to staff to review, so we're reviewing that collaboratively with our consultants on the project. So that's still moving forward there. ZLD, so our zero liquid discharge. So Global Water Innovations has got our pilot approved and authorized. It is actually performing in operation right now, performing in New Coalinga at a pistachio farm. They overdrafted their aquifer there, so they have very high salinity in the MCL range of about 3,000, which is about twice what our TDS is for the plant. So they're putting it through its operational parameters there. Staff will go out and make a site visit where on Wednesday, where we can view it, see the actual footprint of it, look at the discharge. We'll get some updated water quality analysis numbers for permeate and that sort of thing. That will be taking place this Wednesday. So we'll make a little road trip.
Is that the same exact unit that
It will
we
be
are?
the exact, that will be our unit.
Okay.
Yes. So right now they have a true ocean desalter out there pumping and they're using this on the backside for their brine. As in all desalinization efforts, brine waste is the Achilles heel to most of the projects, as you can imagine out there as well.
So we're scheduled to have that plugged in here when?
Our pilot is tentatively set to, well, not really break ground, but begin operation October 6th.
October 6th.
With it coming before the board
Yeah.
for approval for
Yeah.
we plummeted.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes. Our sanitary sewer master plan. So our completeds have completed or our consultants have completed the draft. It's right now in staff's corridor office right now to review it. And we just had a couple other things going on at the wastewater plant, then to review that document. But our consultants have completed that, or at least the draft of that, and we'll be reviewing that internally. Additionally, Santa Rosa Well 4 access road. So the topographic surveys have been completed and a report is being finalized for our civil engineer. He needs that to complete our road and grading plans for the access road for there. So we'll see the groundbreaking date, probably more like August for that little piece right there.
And when does school,
I think mid-August. It's just about a week to perform the construction and fencing there. So we're trying to align that outside of school activities, obviously. Last week, Tristan and I had a call or a meeting rather with Central Coast LEAP. That's a Leaders in Energy Action Program. They're going to perform for free an energy analysis report for us. They're going to go back into our PG&E bills for 36 months. This is kind of leading up to kind of like a climate action report or some sort of climate action data gathering and so forth. So we'll be looking forward to that. Also, they can help us with funding for our projects. They've got State Water or WISE, which is Water Infrastructure and System Efficiency funding. So right now we're running our LSB4 project by them to see if there's any funding mechanisms available to help fund the cost of that installation. And then finally, we've got some word back from the Division of Drinking Water on our sanitary survey update that took place, what, April?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was April. Fortunately for us, we passed with flying colors. There's no system-wide or no deficiencies or areas for improvement. Along with everything, compliance gets more difficult and more regulatory compliance is added every year. So we'll be doing some other constituent sampling annually as opposed to the 3 or 5 year cycle, which some of these are on. And we'll have a full report for that. We have some details to go over and some things to address with that sanitary survey with the Division of Drinking Water. Once that's completed, that'll be a resources and infrastructure item where we'll talk about it and kind of go into the sampling changes, the annual versus 3 or 5 year sampling durations, and then what constituents are being measured more frequently. With that, that's all I really have for big projects. I'll take questions, but I would like to shift over to Superintendent Artho, who's gonna give us an update on why we're making so much noise on Heath Lane.
Do you want to take public comment on your part of the report first
Yeah,
or wait till we're
could you-
done?
Yeah, so yeah, we'll go ahead and take
Okay,
public
so
comment.
we've got a hand that's been up. Okay. Ms. Dickinson, you want to go ahead?
She unmuted, she unmuted, unmute.
I
Yeah, ask her to.
can you go ahead and unmute?
I keep trying. There we
Oh.
go. Get it?
Yep.
Okay. So, Mr. Green, couple of questions for Mr. Green. One of them is related to, the San Simeon third line that are you still planning to put in that third line for San Simeon?
Not at this point. We're planning to do the water influent line and then the wastewater effluent line as of right now. That's all that's being
Because
engineered.
You have been talking about the third line, and I believe in another meeting or a couple of meetings, I mentioned that they do not produce 200 acre feet of wastewater. That number is 75 to 80 acre feet. So all you got to do is go back and check their records, and but that's what they produce. And so for 200 acre feet that I know you've brought up in the past, doesn't really do much to help with the situation that we have here. And I think there's a whole lot more with what San Simeon's going through right now, with possible dissolution. And if you didn't know, the Board of Supervisors approved $255,000 for a consultant to review and to go through all of the requirements for LAFCO for dissolution. Now, with all of that, I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff going on that you may all know that we don't know. But what I do know is that they do not have 200 acre feet of water, and that's verifiable from their records. So it's that, and then there are some other questions that I have for Mr. Green. One is that last Monday, he and I had a telephone conversation. I had a question for him about all of the activity at the wastewater treatment plant, and I wanted him to confirm for me that we were indeed getting the upgrades done. And he affirmed that that's indeed what was going on, with numerous cars out there on Heath Lane. So that's good news. I also asked him about Pyru, and I asked about that, and he said, "Oh, we're going on a site visit to Pyru." And I asked if Mr. Easter was going on that site visit, and he said Mr. Easter was going with others who were yet to be determined. He didn't know at that time who was going to be going to Pyru, but he said that's yet to be determined. But then last week, the general manager said Mr. Green, he referred to Mr. Green, was going to Coalinga. That's the first I've heard of Coalinga. I don't know if anybody else has in the public, but
I believe that's what Mr. Green has been saying, where he's going is to New Coalinga.
Well, he said Pyru last week, because that's the specific question I had for him. And he said he was going to Pyru, 176 miles south of Coalinga, and we've never heard of Coalinga before. So please, I don't understand it. It was very clear.
I can clear up.
Okay.
So we're well aware of the feasibility study that the county's put on. We met with as mentioned at the board meeting, we met with the county and the Coastal Commission and LAFCO and the general manager from San Simeon and State Parks. That feasibility study has been through the RFP process and has already been awarded. We're actually going to have a part in that feasibility study as they take a look at options for San Simeon in terms of their dissolution and how Cambria can play a part in that potentially with board approval once that feasibility study is done. We recognize that they treat 80-ish acre feet a year of wastewater, and 80 acre feet is nothing to sneeze at. That's a significant amount of water. As far as the 200 acre feet, that was, I believe, Jim and I spitballing at a strategic planning meeting, were just some loose conversations, so.
It was more of a capacity statement, not,
Capacity, got it.
not a,
Makes a difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a difference there. So there's, these are not surprises to staff or anybody else. We've mentioned this, the strategic planning, we've mentioned it at the board meeting. And then as far as that third line goes, those are the discussions about the feasibility study. So if they somehow want Cambria to help support treating their wastewater, we're working with State Parks, LAFCO, St. Simon's 218 process that would have to help fund some of these things. So we don't know what it's gonna cost. Right now, we don't have the money for our fluent line, you know, which could be a $5 million project. So these are all exploratory in nature, as we've said multiple times in R&I and at the board meeting. For the second part was the whole Piru thing in Kalinga. I've heard of Kalinga because I grew up near Fresno, so Kalinga is not a new word. And Mr. Green did mention that he was going to Kalinga to look at this pilot project. So if Mrs. Dickinson was confused about Piru or Kalinga, either way, we're going to see our project. Our pilot project and the apparatus in Kalinga, New Kalinga,
new Coinga.
and then we'll report back.
Dukeling.
New Coinga, huh?
What is that?
It's right at the airport. Thank
Okay.
you.
Jeff
Any
Wilson,
other questions?
Jeff Wilson has his hand up.
Wilson.
Go ahead and unmute.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure can.
Yes, thank you, Chair Dean. Thanks, R&I. My comments are related to GWI ZLD, and sorry, but this is specifically related to Piru. And what I've learned in research about the Piru situation is that GWI partnered with an electrochemical nanodiffusion company out of Houston called Magna Imperio Systems in 2020 to build an END solution at the back end of their wastewater treatment as part of the upgrade plans. So this is a brine solution. Jim, you may know about it, but fast forward to 2021, successful pilot project. Fast forward to 2023, failed in execution of building out the actual END solution at the Piru wastewater treatment plant. It failed. Magna Imperial Systems went into Chapter 7 liquidation, and there's no indication that Global Water Innovations is still involved. It would be worthy, I think, of district staff, R&I, to find out what indeed happened to that project, that failed project, with Global Water Innovations as a project developer, which is what they were. So something went awry, and I'm concerned that there may be execution problems beyond a pilot project when you actually get to execution in real life. So I encourage all of you to dig into that and find out what actually happened in Piru and why. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, very good. We'll revisit that topic.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good. Piru was one of the original
Mhm.
pilot projects, wasn't it?
Yeah, and again, this is a pilot project that we have to see if it's even gonna function in Cambria under our system and under our loads. Then we have to evaluate its expense. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen past just bringing in the pilot to see if it would even deal with our brine situation on its face value. Then you gotta take all the economics into it, and then are there any competing ZLD apparatus companies out there that could provide the service as well. So this is a long range. I want to assure the public that it's not that the pilot comes in and then we go to the board and spend the money, install it. I mean, that's, I understand the concerns, and we have concerns as well. I mean, Jim, Mr. Green and I have spoken many times about, we don't know what this is gonna cost. We don't know what electricity is gonna cost to operate this. What's the return on investment? All these things are gonna be under scrutiny and under board scrutiny. So,
I think the first metric that you vet though is actual operation.
right. I mean, it doesn't.
Okay, so are you ready for Mr. Arthos' report?
Could I ask
Oh,
one thing?
sorry.
What happened to the satellite survey of leaks.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can, actually, let me touch on that real quick. Yeah, I apologize about that. I had notes in here, I skipped right over it. I said we performed the satellite L-band radar. It gathered that thermal imaging of it. We have boots on the ground today with one of Astera's representatives and 2 staff members where they're looking at points of interest. Based on that satellite study, we have 17 points of interest in our system right now. So we're starting at Main Street and some of our larger areas. So, yeah, after this, what is it, a week or two?
1 week.
1 week of boots on the ground, they're doing correlating. So they'll go to a valve and put a sounding piece of equipment here and something at the other end. And with that, you can tell by the sound and the volume, the length from where you're at with one correlator to the other. So we'll be able to hopefully size down on some of these areas that are potential leaks and verify and repair.
Great.
So,
And these were initially found through the satellite.
right, yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about how that was done.
We actually have a portal. It's up, it's operable. There's not much information in it. But when that gets populated with the boots on the ground evaluation, we'll bring that as well to R&I. We'll discuss some of these topics. If it's like we think it potentially could be, there might be some larger areas for leaks that we want to kind of prioritize. And we'll bring that kind of methodology or strategy to that leak repair to R&I as well. I think a great question. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions on his utility report before we go to Mr. Arthur? Okay,
Okay, I'm gonna start just on one thing outside of the SST project, that's lift station B4. We have installed the backup pump, so now we're back to 2 pumps operating, and my operators are feeling a little more comfortable again. So as far as the SST program, we apologize for the noise. It is a necessary evil, and I thought it was gonna be done last week. There's 3 more days where we have to do it. So by Wednesday of this week, they'll be done with the abatement, which will be, that's the largest contributor of noise that you have. We have not been running on weekends, and they have not had this crew out starting before 7. I know sometimes they're hanging away right at 7, but we have not been operating out of our allowed hours. The transformer to meter panel, we have been potholing that and trying to find a route. There is piping and conduit and multiple pieces of history running through the route that was laid out initially. They have brought out PG&E to reevaluate the plan and give us the opportunity to present a red line routing for this, which they have, it seems that they have approved. They're gonna allow us 300 degrees of offset in our piping. We have 2 new 5-inch piping that was supposed to be running from the transformer to the meter box. So they are going to allow us some latitude in the placement, but we're still working how we're gonna put the piping from the transformer to the meter panel, and also the generator to the transfer switch to the meter panel. We're still trying to work that out. And we are coming up, I think we have a plan close to being perfected. Abatement for the welding, which is in the digester tanks, is the cause of most of the noise. That is to be completed by Wednesday. We are looking to bring out welders to do repairs on the strongbacks and whalers inside the tank that are rusted through. They'll also be doing patches in the tank where we have not enough thickness to the metals. They'll also be placing and welding pipe brackets to the south tank. We've asked Southland on the north tank, because of the difficulties of the abatement process, we have asked them to look at an alternate where they are not mounting directly to the tank to where they have to do abatement for welding areas. We've asked them to maybe set up a unistrut or strong back that we can treat outside the area and drop into place and attach to the bottom concrete slab and then attach to the top. That will give us enough time that when they place the air headers in that north tank, we will have enough time in reserve in our other tanks that need to capture all our sludge that is coming off the plant for 7 days. So the plan was initially they would get everything in and weld up brackets onto the tank itself and then mount the air distribution header into the north tank. But with the abatement also included into that plan, it might take us beyond the 10 days we have allotted for that. And that would cause us to try and figure out a bypass system or an alternate storage system. So that's something they're looking into. They've excavated the pads for the blowers and they've also excavated the mechanical pads for, okay, so there's 2 different sets of blowers we're talking about. There's MLE blowers, which are in the main blower room. So they've excavated out and placed backfill and also ran electrical into that pad. Also at the plat pad for the equalization pumps, they've done backfill, electrical, and excavation for the footings for that pad. They had issues with a 3-inch plant water line that was running through the blower pad for the equalization tank. So they have rerouted that 3-inch line outside of the footprint. And then we also had an old effluent line coming off of the old plant that was buried or traveling underneath that pad. They have cut out that section of effluent line and capped it on both ends so that will never be an issue with our mechanical pad once we get the system up and running. So also we have there right now one of the issues is coming off and that they're checking is on the number 2 clarifier. They're actually right now making sure that they can they're doing a dry run on setting the clarifier trough. They're afraid that they might have a 1/2 inch too long trough and cannot set that trough in place with the overhangs that are existing. There is a option that we are putting out in case they cannot get the trough to fit in place. They are asking the engineer if they can cut back on cut a little bit off the end of the trough and then recoat it to see if we can get it in place. But right now they're doing a dry run on it. They're afraid that they're like a 1/2 inch off on the sizing. Also on the VFDs for the RAS pumps or return activated sludge pumps, to make room for the additional VFDs that are coming in for the wasting pumps and a couple of the other VFDs. We need to move VFD 2 over into the place of VFD 1, and they are right now putting together the plan for that, so that we're basically swapping the internals or the power to the internals on one, so that it will power VFD 2 or the RAS pumps on 2. And AB diffuser, the aeration basin diffuser pipes have been all installed, and they're waiting prior to, we're not supposed to leave the baffling in place. They do not want the baffling exposed to sunlight for extended periods of time. So we are waiting to set up the baffling for that aeration basin. Also, we have to do the final connections of the diffusers to the air main lines. And then the aeration basin will be pretty much ready to build. And that's where we're at right now. And
Sounds
again,
good.
we apologize for all the noise and appreciate your patience with us.
But from talking with Southland and Cushman, it looks like the high impact noise events will carry through till Wednesday.
Yes.
And then, so the majority of the heavy noise impacts have taken place, will occur through Wednesday. And then we should just have welding and some smaller
There'll
noise
be
impacts.
Welding and they'll be welding on the tanks basically. And then also, there might be to do the final, removal, they'll be sandblasting. So that's a much less, noisy process. And, yeah, so and they'll also, yeah, that should reduce the noise quite a bit. It's just they have limited time after they sandblast to provide coatings.
Makes sense.
Sounds like,
So is the entire perimeter of that exterior tank, was that all abated?
No, not only where they
Welding?
were doing weld plates.
there's a real flurry of activity out there. When we did our
Yes.
tour, definitely looked like progress. was
And I
being made.
apologize if I, there was a lot going on that day.
I know.
And, sometimes it's better to,
Well, Tony, you're almost there. Only 9 more months. You'll be fine. Just told you right.
It'll be something else.
yeah, for sure.
Okay,
We get on
so,
to the next problem.
did Mr. Meeks have something he wanted to report on, or?
Jim, any water updates? AMI?
We have about 180 AMI left. They're the really difficult ones. It appears that my message of keeping the meters clear doesn't really go farther outside of this room. Yeah, so we're still plugging away when we can with staff power.
So like the one that's got the shed built on top of it and all of that? Okay.
Behind fences, cars parked on top. We saved these last about 200 or so. We omitted them from the RFP specifically, so that way we wouldn't spend time, you know, a day's worth of time trying to change out 1 meter. I think that's better suited for water staff and an internal measure for that. So, yeah.
How about the loading, the data loading, is it for, well, when will we be ready to log on to Ion Water?
Great. So about half the community has been loaded in to Ion Water and can participate in that portal. The other half, we're still kind of working through and integrating that into our Tyler billing system. And then from Tyler, then we can import that into Badger. Then once that's imported into Badger, then you can access your portal and start accessing your info and start setting data and metrics for alerts.
Mhm.
So we just haven't done the community blast out to tell everybody to go set up the portal, because half the community isn't plugged in yet.
Yeah.
So we're trying to roll it out in one big swoop, once we get everything imported. Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else on the committee have any questions before I go to the public?
Just curious, have there been a lot of noise complaints?
I have received several, there has been several people coming to the front gate and we're trying to explain to them why it's happening.
About a half dozen to a dozen over the last 3 weeks.
Okay, so we have two people that have their hands raised up. Ms. Heinrich, you want to go ahead? This is on the utility reports. Go ahead,
Yes, thank you. I was curious about the water meter project. I was glad that the points were replaced, but then in Thursday's meeting, you said that now the brass bodies need to be replaced, and that's going to be done at the rate of 1,000 per year. And I'm really confused because I thought that the water meters I thought it was done. And can you explain about the difference between the points and the brass bodies and what that's, I'm unfamiliar with exactly what the components are of a water meter. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll let Jim speak to it, but we've spoken about this ad nauseum in terms of the difference between endpoints and brass bodies. The endpoints will be able to point us in the direction of brass bodies that are failing. And with that, that's how we're attacking this phased approach. So several board meetings over several years, my understanding is how we're going to attack this project overall globally. Were we going to do endpoints and brass bodies all at once? That was a $2.5 million project, probably, if we were to do it all at once. And we decided to do this phased approach where we get the endpoints in that will guide us to the brass bodies that are failing, and then the brass bodies will be replaced as necessary. And so we've done the discussions and had the R&I meetings where we showed the group what an endpoint is versus what a brass body is. So
Just to check, is my understanding the brass body is the thing that's actually counting the water. It's like this going through, and that the endpoint is telling us what the brass body has done. How many circles it's.
Right, so it's like the computer, it's collecting the data and then sending the data.
So the brass body creates the data,
Mhm.
and then
Right.
the endpoint sends the data out to the system.
Exactly.
Cool, okay. That's what I thought.
And we're
I just wanted to be sure.
discovering which brass bodies need to be replaced.
That was the purpose of
based
AMIing
on
first.
the AMI
Yeah.
first.
Rather
Yeah.
than just go out and replace all 4,000 at
Oh,
once and
right.
then have them fail at once, like we've just occurred. We're trying not to study history so we don't repeat it, especially the bad parts of it. So yeah, that's why we're going out with this. We'll be able to take those 1,000 meters that are priority that are not reading correctly, and we'll replace those first and then systematically replace the remainder of the system.
Okay, great. So, Ms. Dickinson, go ahead and unmute. And
There we
this is
go.
on the,
Okay, got it. Thank you. On water levels, I don't understand why there will be a need, as predicted in the board meeting, to turn on the WRF. As of July 1st, the average water level or well levels for San Simeon were 18.03 feet, and for Santa Rosa, 49.93. Those are really healthy numbers. Those are not numbers for any alarm at this point in time, no way. And so I don't understand why there would be any reason to turn on the WRF, and the expense to the ratepayers when their WRF charges are, when it's running and goes through, are going to be exorbitant. So why at this, I've been following this for too many years. These are healthy numbers for this time of year. There is absolutely no reason to be turning on the WRF. And we have conserved by 250 acre feet or more per year. We were pumping at 725, 750, even up to 803 acre feet a year. Now we're down to around 500. We were even to 499 a couple of years ago. You explain to me how there is not enough water to get through this season, because it doesn't make a bit of sense to me. Thank you.
thank you.
So not sure, and so part of me is excited to think that Ms. Dickinson believes we'll get it permitted enough to where we can flip the switch whenever we can. Because right now we're limited to a stage 5, 6 drought where it can turn on.
Board
So,
resolution.
Or a
Yeah.
resolution.
and then if we were able to turn it on as stated, that means that we would have got it permitted. So I'm excited that we're close. But with that, at the board meeting, we had a discussion about we would bring forward an operational plan to the board and metrics in which we would turn on the WRF. So I think Jim stated that there was a potential to need to turn it on potentially, you know, if we hit a dry season, but again, we just don't turn on the switch to the WRF whenever.
And what we were talking to, wasn't it, is going to a stage 2, the end of summer, not necessarily running the WRF, correct?
Correct. So, I mean, well levels always look good at the end of a rainy season.
Mhm.
Let's take a look at that at the end of summer. And again, we're anticipating drier weather in the future. This looks very familiar to the 2012 entering into the 2013, 14, 15 years. I'm sure we all remember those dry times. So my response would be to that, looking at well levels and evaluating other metrics. If we're anticipating a dry season or seasons to come, I would think that you would at least put something back into the aquifer later in the season to help sustain the aquifer.
Okay,
Is there any, we had any feedback from the agencies reviewing our WRF application?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the board meeting, so we initial information hole with quite a few items, turned that in October. Received back an information hole that had, and I'm ballparking here, 11 to 15 items. Some of those items we had already addressed in the initial information holds. We had a subsequent meeting with the county. And we're able to identify those areas which that material was overlooked by the county. They marked it as complete, so we're down to about 7 to 8 items. And we have our consultants working on that. Some of it from our end is pretty much complete. We just have to submit, we're gonna submit it as a whole. So once we get all the items addressed, we'll submit that. And we had a meeting with the county to include Supervisor Gibson, all of planning county staff, our ad hoc. And we had some very good conversations about if we address these information hold items, there shouldn't be any more information hold items coming. So if we address those, that means the next step, which was stated by Mr. Gibson and county planning, Trevor Keith, all the people in the room, we would be going to a planning hearing for the permit, which is monumental.
Yeah, it is.
The majority of the hold items are civil engineering and drawings and plans and road improvements.
Road, you mentioned that.
And yeah, and the part of the topographical survey that we just had done out there by MES. Yeah, so those are results will be coming into our civil engineer as well. So that piece is done. We're working on the civil part. Then once we get that, we can pretty much submit everything to close the gap on all those info holds.
Wow,
Very, very close.
that's amazing. Congratulations.
okay, we have one more person wishing to speak. Go ahead, Randy.
Matthew, did it come up right to Randy?
Yes, it did.
It's Cheryl. I had a
Oh,
I had a question regarding the Main Street property that is commercial meter. It has to have a commercial meter and you shut off the water. Is there children in that property?
I don't know.
Well, because I think it's a health issue with minors. I don't think you could just shut off water.
okay, so this is on the utility report. I haven't taken general public comment yet. Do you have a question for Mr. Green or Mr. Art?
Okay, as far
And then I'll come back to you on general public
okay,
comment.
as far as Mr. Green is concerned, we don't have a crystal ball into the weather situation that's going to happen in the next year or 2 years or 3 years. So bear that in mind, dear. Okay.
I've seen the start very wet and then have a very dry November,
Yeah, well, we all
December,
have.
in January. So,
My husband,
but
Okay, Does anybody else have any questions with Mr. Artho or Mr. Green or our general manager on the utility items? No? Okay. So we can move back to public comment on items not on the agenda, but under the purview of the R&R committee. So, do we have anybody wishing to speak?
So Cheryl.
I don't see any. Oh, there's Cheryl. Okay, just a second. Okay, go ahead and unmute.
It's my question regarding if there's children
Okay,
in that property or not, and you don't know. So I don't know what the district's liability is on something like that with minor children. So,
So multiple letters were sent to the property owner and the tenants. And I went by and spoke to the tenants. 8th February. February is when we shut off the water. And so I spoke to a young woman. I didn't see any children. I'm not to say that there wasn't children there, but we spoke of the situation, spoke of how that the water use was outside of municipal code and it needed to be remedied by the property owner. The property owner did not remedy it. And so our mechanism is to turn off the water. And it's not a public health issue from our standpoint in terms of conformance. It would be tenants living in there without the appropriate plumbed water. And so this is really a property owner and tenant issue, separate from the CCSD, unfortunately. It's not ideal, believe me, nobody here takes pleasure in performing any such task, but it's what had to be done.
well, it wasn't supposed to be rented to begin with
No.
because all it had was a
Commercial
commercial meter.
yeah.
Okay,
But
This is a different situation than the issue where a person owes money for the water.
Correct.
And you are restricted into what you can do there.
Correct.
This is an entirely different situation.
Right.
People are not even supposed to be living there at all.
correct.
So, but she has a point, but I think it's not germane to the situation. Yeah.
right, okay. Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda. This is consideration to adopt the June 16th, 2025 regular meeting minutes and the June 25th, 2025 special meeting minutes, and we'll take each set of minutes separately. Okay, so on the June 16th regular minutes, I had 2 corrections. We need to remove the comment between the general manager's first and last name. And on future agenda items, Estera is misspelled. I believe it's ASTERRA. So those are the 2 corrections I saw. Does anybody else have any corrections? Okay, so we had 5 committee members in attendance at that meeting, so we need to take a vote from all 5 of you. So does anybody want to make a motion to accept the minutes with those 2 changes? Okay, Mr. Grimmel made the motion. Is any, okay? Oops, I put that in the wrong place. Okay. I'm gonna take a roll call. Mr. Grimmel?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Webb?
Aye.
Mr. Seaver?
Aye.
Mr. Howell?
Aye.
And Mr. Meeks?
Aye.
Okay. So on the joint meeting minutes, let me see here. Okay, so we had 2 different joint meetings on the same day. The first one was for the tour for lift station B4. And let me see here. Okay, that was this one. So we had present at that meeting, Mr. Webb, Mr. Howell, and Mr. Grimald. And so the 3 of you are the only ones voting on this. The other 2 need to be marked as abstained because you are not present. So were there any corrections to those minutes from the 3 that attended? No? Okay. So can I have a motion to accept those minutes?
That's so moved.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll say,
You weren't at that one.
I wasn't.
I can second.
Okay.
Oh, I wasn't in it.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a vote of the 3 of you that attended. So Mr. Grimald,
Aye.
Mr. Howell,
Aye.
and Mr. Webb. Okay, so that's unanimous. And then we had another tour on the same day, and this was of the wastewater treatment plant and a demonstration on the AMI meters. 4 of you were present for that one, so the one member that was not present, Mr. Seaver, will be abstaining. So are there any corrections to that set of minutes? No? Okay, does someone want to make a motion to accept those minutes as written? Okay. Here. Get the right one. Do I have a second? Okay, so we do a roll call of the 4 of you that were present. Mr. Meeks?
Aye.
Mr. Grimmel?
Aye.
Mr. Webb?
Aye.
And Mr. Howell?
Aye.
Okay. So moving on to regular business. So this is discussion and consideration to review the bids for the Stewart Street Tank Construction Project and consider forwarding a recommendation to the CCSD Board of Directors. Mr. Green?
Thank you, Jardine. We had 8 vendors, not including a painting vendor soliciting the bid. But we had 8 contractors at our pre-bid meeting. Out of those 8, 2 contractors submitted a bid proposal for us. They're very close and in final total bid amounts. What we withdrew was an opinion of probable construction cost or an engineer's estimate. We omitted that as to not lead the proposals towards a number. With that, I think we got some really good numbers based on that. Our opinion of probable construction cost or engineering estimate came out to 1.914, or with contingency, 2.297, so $2.3 million. The 2 bids that we received were 2.199,600 and then a 2.138,874. So very close to the engineering estimates. For those of you that don't believe in engineering estimates, they're pretty accurate. So then it's a matter of parsing out between the 2. Hartzell's bid had considerable line or item numbers that were higher than $3,000 or $5,000 in extended price, in opposition to the Krosno bid. Krosno was higher incrementally in some areas, but not many. And I think that's why you see that about, what do we say, it's about a $61,000 difference between the 2. There's nothing really that jumps out to me here. Some of the demolition costs, again, were offset. Some were higher by 10 here, some were higher by 10 on the other contractor. But again, very equal bid prices. I will point out that both proposers listed each other as subcontractors in the bid. So I will make note of that. I'm not sure how we get around that. But here, I think the design of this is to come up with something to recommend to the board here. Krosno has been doing tanks for a very long time. We have 2 of our 6 tanks are Krosno tanks here that are built. We have great respect for Krosno and Hartzell as well. Obviously, Hartzell picks up a lot of general engineering work for us. Some of our bigger stuff, like the high line on the influent line for the water department for our St. Simeon Wellfield. He did that big project and did the water line project at the pedestrian bridge and so forth. But Krosno, they're a tank builder. They're solely a tank builder. So I was elated to see that they actually showed up at the bid meeting and then provided us a construction bid. So I mean, the long and the short of it is they're the cheaper bid. And to me, they're the actual construction company that I'd want to build my tanks, our tanks here for the community. So that's who I would advocate for. But
Okay, so also, since this is a public works project, aren't we required to take the lower bid unless there's some reason?
That is correct. So in the notice to bidders that we sent out, it said the bid by the lowest responsible and responsive and competent contractor. And
Yeah.
we received 2 qualified, we received 2 bids from qualified, competent contractors. So yeah, we would have to pick the lower of the 2. So we really don't have much leeway, but we can discuss, the contractors themselves, and if we feel like they're both competent.
Equally competent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were using each other as subcontractors in the bid.
Yeah, it's like,
Which was-
Yeah.
which was interesting.
Rosno's using Hartselle for the,
We discussed that as
General,
well,
yeah.
and if it was, this was a case where if they'd come up way above the engineer's estimate, we could have used that as a basis for rejecting and rebidding. But we felt since they came in line with the engineering estimate, that it would be, we just get it done. Or, you know, we're getting a good product for a good price. No need to go through that.
Is there any consideration of their timeline to get to doing the project if they received the contract?
They're both ready to break ground.
They're both ready,
Yeah.
okay.
We made that absolutely clear that our timeline was to break ground August 1st. This is a year-long project. We do have, where was that?
Yes.
We have the implementation plan here. Again, this looks good on paper. I hope we don't have a dry year. But, and the chances that we don't, obviously weather is the biggest factor in pushing back deliverables and construction. So again, we have an implementation plan. We made the contractors, everyone bidding on it. We made it absolutely clear that this was our plan and our drop dead dates. And so, yeah, again, they know the timeline and the deliverables.
And that could have actually, now that we thinking about it now, that could be a reason why we didn't get more bids, is that other
Is there
contractors
a
couldn't line
timeline?
up there. Yeah, it's kind of, it is in the public works world a little bit short. Most people would rather, you know, bid something and then have to start 90 days, 60 to 90 days afterward to give time to finish the project you're on and move on to the next one.
Okay,
a couple questions, if I may.
sure.
First of all, did the board approve the project manager for this project?
I think we did, didn't we?
That will be all a part
All
of the
part of
17th
this.
agenda. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll have construction, construction management, and then the budget adjustment.
We made a recommendation, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I don't go to the board meeting, so I didn't know if it got approved or not. If this guy's on board.
You
Yeah.
should come to the board meeting,
Should, yeah, you're
or
right.
at least watch the recordings, all of you.
And I had another question on the addendum number 3, item number 2 about asbestos testing, Nothing had been done at the time of the bidding. No test results were. Is that something that we need to be looking? And I was also wondering about lead abatement. You got asbestos in here, but what about lead paint?
Right, so that'd be like a metals test. That came up at the pre-bid meeting. That wasn't something that we had covered in the RFP. So that would, the analysis of that would be a district incurred cost. Now, if there was any mitigation that needed to be done on that, that would also be a change order or addition to that.
Yeah, and the concern was there might be asbestos in the gaskets between the weld to the bolted plates of the tank.
Sure.
Because the tanks were built in 91, so we know there's no lead in the paint. The only other concern was one of the contractors said, well, sometimes they put oil sand underneath the tanks as what the tank rests on, and sometimes the oil could have an unacceptably high level of lead in it. So that was the other question. We don't know when it comes time to that part of demo, they'll have to test
You could
it.
do a core,
Well, we have to get under the tank.
We'd have to
test
get
the
it, yeah.
oil sand, so you're not gonna do that. till
Oh, under the
tank.
tank,
Yeah.
not underneath the pad.
Yeah, they use the
No.
oil for compaction.
Got it.
This picture you're going under.
Right.
I have a question. I noticed there's no reserves for contingencies in these bids, so I'm gathering that they're fairly confident what they're going to be dealing with and what their costs are. And it's encouraging that they're coming so close that I'm often concerned if someone's charging too little.
Correct.
Because if they get into a place where they're starting to go negative, then there's some issues. And the only thing I noticed with the biggest differences were in the construction of the tanks.
Yeah.
$43,000 in one case.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge amount, but the fact that if this is the tank builder who's saying this, then that's probably a real cost. And this, as another comment, it did disturb me that Hartzell's bid was all round numbers. I would suggest that Krosno is probably a little more accurate.
Correct.
So is that a good assumption?
Yeah, we picked up on that as well. Yeah.
But the only other thing, this is the first time in my experience with the board that I've actually seen some of the documentation that goes into an RFP. And I was quite amazed, actually.
Pretty
It was pretty
extensive.
done when I
Yeah.
started.
And this is a relatively simple project as far as public works
The
project.
whole
So
thing
yes,
has collusion.
the more complicated the project, the more detailed and the more items you get and all your specs, specifications and.
So, wow.
Yeah.
So some of the funds of this are coming from federal EPA?
Absolutely, yeah. So that kind of segues into the budget part of this right now. So if we're looking at a 2.139 construction cost, the $275,000 construction management cost, there's coding inspections, geo inspections, and then a final welding inspection before we go to coding. That's why we initially built in a 15% contingency for the change orders in case there is some oil sand underneath the tank. We're kind of planning ahead from some of those minor change orders that we were unable to evaluate prior to the RFP. So we are looking for a total budget adjustment. What we have remaining in the budget, we had 189 go out for engineering. We had budgeted, we were right around 600 something. We have 375 coming from the EPA. We had just submitted our final work plan. We submitted a draft, to them. We've been working with Leah Teague there. She kind of helped us clean it up, and then we finally submitted it again, hopefully a final. She's passing that on to those who write the check. So we're looking for funding for that, probably within the upcoming months. But total budgeted money, including EPA money, is $643,000 in 17. So we're looking for a total budget adjustment of around 2.33 million, which we have 6.1 currently in water reserves. I'd like to keep as much in reserves that we can, but this definitely is a high priority project. It's been on the strategic plan for many years. And we all know it's a water quality and health concern. So, yeah, that's where we're at with the financial parts of that.
Cool.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, does anybody in the public have any questions on this? I don't see any hands up. Okay. So do we have someone who would like to make a recommendation on which one of these proposals to, well, we have to do Crosno, it's the lowest. But yeah, okay, so motion.
I would take a motion to approve Crosman
Do we look forward?
based on experience and expertise.
Okay, second? Okay, so we are making a motion to consider forwarding the recommendation to use Crosno for the Stewart Street tanks. So Mr. Meeks,
Aye.
Mr. Howell,
Aye.
Mr. Webb,
Hi.
Mr. Seaver,
Aye.
Mr. Grimall.
Aye.
Okay. Even though it's not on the agenda, can you show off the sign?
Sure.
Would you like to just hold the sign up so the committee could see it? Sure. We're not discussing it or making a motion. I just thought you might like to show it off.
Is that gonna be put on site?
Yeah, we have two of these. One will be on the Richard side, and then another on the Stewart Street side. As we get closer to breaking ground, we'll also do some public outreach where yours truly and Superintendent Meeks will be going door to door and knocking on some doors around there. But this is what you'll see. This is our flag we'll be flying for the next year for the Stewart Street tanks.
Excellent.
Yes, that's good.
Nicely done.
Beautiful. We do have a hand raised.
Very good.
So just a second. This is on the contract for Stewart Street tanks.
On that sign that was just shown. So I would suggest that a sign be at the wastewater treatment plant or a couple of them like that. And maybe you won't have so many people coming to the gate wondering what all the noise is about, because that's a huge project. I mean, that Stewart Street tanks actually pales in comparison to the size of it. So why not put a couple out there on the chain link fence so people can know what's going on? Thank you.
That's a good idea. Thank you. I think
So we have a, please save water, a water conservation sign on that chain link fence on Heath Lane there, probably for the last 6 years. And I actually had somebody drive into the plant and say, why don't you put a sign up for conservation? And you just pass one on the way. So I think the way the plant is situated in, you don't always see signage and maybe you don't see the forest for the trees, but it's a fantastic suggestion. Thank you.
well, maybe if it was as big as color and colorful as this one is. No, it would have to be a big banner. Yeah. Okay. Future agenda items, we had several things that were on our list from last meeting that may still be needing to be discussed. We're gonna be ready for any of these things for next month. We were gonna talk about the San Simeon stream flow gauge relocation. You talked about Astera. We talked about an ad hoc committee to assist with the urban water management plan update. You already mentioned the sanitary sewer management plan, I think. And the Santa Rosa Creek in-stream flow study. Are any of those things that you think could go on the August agenda, or do you have anything else?
I can see us getting the SSNP on there. We can reach up, Stillwater for the Santa Rosa IFS. We'll have an Astera presentation prepared for you. We might, depending on CC's or Central Coast LEAP's participation, have like an energy audit or some information as far as funding for some of our projects to bring forward to you. We'll have a tractor to show you. And so yeah, we'll look into the SSNP and the IFS for August, as well as the Astera.
Okay. Okay,
Is there any other utility topics that we're kind of, I talked about not being able to see the forest for the trees. We're kind of buried in all of our projects right now. So if there's something out there that needs to be talked about or we need to cover, please bring this up.
so I think that later on, when the Stewart Street tanks get going, we have talked about possibly having a joint tour, looking at that. And also rodeo grounds, listing the rodeo grounds area. And one of the wells, like SR3. And maybe we'll have more finance committee members this time.
Copy of the inflammation plan. I was late.
Oh, there's some of that chair, but front chair there.
Is there anything else you guys would like to see on the agenda? Okay, I think, yeah, later on too, we might want to do another tour of the wastewater treatment plant once.
Yeah,
Some of the
absolutely. Yeah, we're
projects
gonna
get-
get a little closer to completion right before we got into wet season. And so probably like, I want to say like in October would probably be a good date for that.
End of August, October.
October, yeah.
There'll be hopefully less holes in the ground.
Less hard hat required.
I did have a request from a local nonprofit. They were jealous that they didn't get to go tour the lift station and the wastewater.
It was open to the public.
It was, but I don't think that was communicated broadly. Will this second tour be open to the public also?
Anytime we do a Brown Act compliant meeting where we have it posted and we have a quorum of a committee, it has to be open to the public.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Jim, do you think we need to be a little more proactive?
Well, I just think I think it helps to see where you're spending your money and, you know, and I think it's impressive. And, I think it would help people understand, progress. You know, you don't see anything really happening. You just hear a bunch of noise and stuff. And this would actually show them. I mean, you guys are, well,
Yeah, well, the meetings were posted on the website, and I'm sure anything that's posted on the website, we send out on our email list, right?
Yeah, and it was posted in the general manager's letter numerous times.
Yeah, so it's just, maybe they're not on the mailing list and they might want to go on the district website and click on that. Sign me up.
they're just not paying attention.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But we'd love to get more out there.
Okay.
We had a member of the finance committee who I think she told us it really opened up her eyes to see like the size, the scope, how close we are to creeks and, you know, especially for a lift station. And it kind of opened up her eyes as
Yeah.
why there's such cost when you start talking about 2 and 3 millions for a lift station move or upgrade and things like that. That kind of helps put everything into perspective when you see the volume and the size of things and
Yeah.
the environmental impact. So we can.
Okay, anything else? If there's no objections, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and it is 3:15 PM. Thank you.